Retirement nightmare. Hordes of retired Americans may need to go back to work just to survive, Michael Snyder reports. The Social Security program was instituted to help elderly Americans thrive during their retirement years. Unfortunately, millions upon millions of retired Americans are finding that their monthly Social Security payments are simply not enough as the cost of living spirals out of control. One recent survey found that a whopping 85% of U.S. adults now consider inflation to be one of the most important political issues that we're facing, and seniors are being hit particularly hard. In fact, a different survey that was just conducted by the Motley Fool discovered that 44% of retired Americans are thinking of going back to work because they need more money to survive. A growing number of retired Americans considering returning to work as they continue to battle chronic inflation, according to a new survey published by the Motley Fool. About 44% of respondents said they are thinking about looking for work because their Social Security benefits have not adequately kept pace with high inflation. Needless to say, trying to go back to work in your 70s, 80s, or 90s is not an easy thing to do. But if you have to choose between going back to work or not eating 3 meals a day, I think that the choice is easy. Today, the average Social Security payment is less than half of what the average retired American spends each month. The average monthly Social Security payment in 2024 is $1,907, according to the Social Security Administration, but that's just a fraction of the $4,818 that Americans aged 65 and older report spending in 2022. Of course, the current economic environment has been very difficult for us all. If you can believe it, compared to 3 years ago, the typical household in this country is spending an extra $1,069 per month just to maintain the same standard of living. The typical U.S. household needed to pay $227 more a month in March to purchase the same goods and services it did 1 year ago because of still high inflation. Americans are paying on average $784 more each month compared with the same time 2 years ago, and $1,069 more compared with 3 years ago. Sadly, the cost of living is only going to get worse because our leaders just can't help themselves. At this point, our politicians in Washington have borrowed so much money that we're spending more than $1 trillion a year just in interest on the national debt. In fact, we now spend more on interest on the national debt than we do on national defense. But instead of slowing down, our politicians just continue to borrow and spend trillions upon trillions of dollars, so inflation is not going away anytime soon. Meanwhile, the number of home foreclosures was up once again last month. Home foreclosures rose again in May as Americans continue to grapple with the ongoing cost of living crisis. That's according to a new report published by real estate data provider Atom, which found that there was 32,621 properties in May with foreclosure filings, which includes default notices, scheduled auctions, and bank repossessions. That certainly is not a good sign. Needless to say, there have been lots and lots of troubling signs for the economy lately. In addition to the conflicting rise in unemployment, other signs of deterioration include stagnant retail sales, a slowing of consumer spending, weak industrial production and manufacturing orders, increasing consumer debt, depressed new housing starts, falling annual earnings of full-time employees, and rising commodity prices. To many of those at the bottom of the economic food chain, it feels like the economy has already collapsed. Today, 20% of the entire population of California is living in poverty, 20%, a fifth, and massive homeless encampments have sprouted all over the state. Unfortunately, many more Americans will soon be joining the ranks of the poor because the economy is rapidly moving in the wrong direction. The outlook is so bleak that even Walmart is closing down stores. Walmart has decided to close 3 more stores across the U.S., bringing this year's total number of failed locations to 11. The retail giant said that these 3 stores located in Georgia and Colorado underperformed financially. And we just learned that more Pizza Hut locations are being permanently shuttered. Pizza Hut shuttered 15 locations in Indiana on Friday, while more than 120 additional locations are in danger of closing, according to a report from the Times of Northwest Indiana. The latest closures come after a long-running dispute between the chain and the franchise EYM Group, which owns and operates 142 Pizza Hut locations in Illinois, Indiana, Georgia, South Carolina, and Wisconsin, was accused of defaulting on millions of dollars in payments owed to Pizza Hut by a June deadline. A new economic crisis has already begun, but it's going to get so much worse during the months and years that are ahead of us. As we approach the end of this calendar year, we will want to keep a very close eye on the global financial system. There have been a number of ominous signs lately that should definitely alarm all of us. Most notably, the fifth largest bank in Japan just announced that it will be selling off approximately $63 billion of government bonds. And if that was the first and still distant sign that something was very wrong at one of Japan's biggest banks, Norin Chukin's is Japan's fifth largest bank with $840 billion in assets. Today, the proverbial canary stepped on a neutron bomb inside the Japanese coal mine because, according to Nikkei, Norin Chukin Bank will sell more than 10 trillion yen, that's $63 billion, of its holdings of US and European government bonds during the year ending March 2025, as it aims to stem its losses from bets on low-yield foreign bonds, a main cause of its deteriorating balance sheet, and lower the risks associated with the holding foreign government bonds. And see, what's happening in Japan is not that different from what is happening in the United States, where the FDIC keeps reminding us quarter after quarter, U.S. banks are still sitting on over $500 billion in unrealized losses as a result of the huge jump in interest rates, which has blown up the bank's long-duration fixed income holdings, sending them trading far below par and forcing banks and the Fed to come up with creative ways to solve it, shoving these massive losses under the rug. Major banks all over the world are sitting on gigantic mountains of unrealized losses. If things start going wrong, it won't take much to induce panic. And once panic starts, it won't take much to spark a financial avalanche. We are in far more trouble than most people realize, and the dark clouds on the horizon are getting closer with each passing day. And this is by Michael Snyder on the Economic Collapse blog. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. This is by Michael Snyder. About the author, Michael Snyder's extremely controversial new book entitled Chaos is available in paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. He's also written 7 other books that are available on Amazon, including End Times, 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters. When you purchase any of Michael's books, you help to support the work he's doing. You can also get his articles by email as soon as he publishes them by subscribing to his Substack newsletter. Michael has published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and he always freely and happily allows others to republish those articles on their own websites. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, we strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.